from an approver standpoint, we're just going to kind of cover what you can see as an approver. So when you log into the UFGO system, again, you'll land on that landing page from your SSO confirmation sign-on, and you will see this looks a little different, but you will see your landing page, and there are several different ways that you can get to approvals from the landing page. One is you can click directly into what Cynthia referred to as the module, the approvals module. You can do it from clicking over on your countdown to zero bar under the required approvals. Also under my tasks, you have the ability to click on the required approvals header here, or you can actually click into the specific request and or expense that you're wanting to approve at this moment in time. For the purpose of the demo, I'm going to go ahead and click on the approvals module. And this will take you to the approvals home page. You'll notice that your default will land on expense reports. So if you're a supervisor, I know this is mostly the financial group, but if you are a supervisor or a delegate for a supervisor, in addition to financial, you'll want to go to make sure that you click on the request tab to get those requests approved. Okay, so you can click using the tabs here, or you can go to request up top or reports up top. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and go to requests from the toolbar. And these are the items pending my approval. I'm going to go ahead and click on the one I want to review. And that will take me directly into the travel request. From here, I can see the estimated expenses that the traveler or their delegate have entered for me to approve. But in order to see more information about the trip, there's two ways you can do that. And I'm going to show you within the report how to do that first, or excuse me, the request. So you can click on the request name to get into what is called the request header. This gives you information about the trip, that they're requesting a domestic travel, that they're going out of state, the reason, the business purpose. This is a drop-down option initially. So when Cynthia talks about that proper who, what, when, where, why justification, you'll actually need to look for that in the business to benefit to grant a university field within the request. Then you have the business travel start and end dates, where that traveler is going, and then some additional information about if personal travel is included, if they'll be taking property, and just general information about the trip, as well as where the funding source for that trip is going to be going. This right here is where that trip is going to be encumbered. Okay, so if for any reason you need to change this, if it's inaccurate, you can either send that request back to the traveler or the delegate for correction, or you do have the ability to make that correction right within the system yourself. Okay. Once you've verified the accuracy of the header, you can go ahead and click save, and that will take you back into the primary request for the expenses that are estimated to be incurred during this trip. Okay. To get more information about this specific expense, you can go ahead and click within it by clicking on the line item and see kind of where they're departing and arriving from, the dates, their estimated amount, and any information that they might have added about that particular expense within the request. You can either click save or click cancel and come back out to the main page and go into the next item, or you can go ahead and use these back and forward arrows that will actually take you to the next expense without having to come all the way back out of the request. Excuse me. You'll notice that there is just a little piece of information here for the user and for the approver that says, hey, as a reminder, you'll need to attach your agenda. You know, you might see these periodically throughout your approval process, both in request and expense. So when you see this alerts bar, please make sure that you either click on these icons or select the drop down so you can expose what those pieces of information are. Some of them are specific to you, the approver, calling out specific information that says, hey, you might want to take a closer look at this expense. The other way that you can view additional information about this request in its entirety is by going to the print share option, and you can select the request printed report. And this is a moment in time report. So the report is actually, well, this is technically a report that you're getting here, is a moment in time report. So Whenever you click on that print share, it's going to give you the status that that request in is at the time you click it. Okay. So if you're wanting to print this now, for example, or save to a PDF or email to somebody else, it's going to send the status that that request in is in at the moment. If you were to come back days later and request this again, this will change to the current status of the request at that time. Okay. But it does give you general trip information. All that stuff that's on the header is contained here. Your segment information, which includes airfare, lodging, rental car, train, and rail. And then other expenses that are being estimated as part of the expense as well. Okay. So when we talk about adding an approver to the workflow, you can do that by going to Request Details and then clicking on Request Timeline. And this gives you all the information about where this request has been and where it's potentially going. If you would like to add an additional step to the workflow, you can go ahead and click Edit and then Add Step. You can only add steps from where it's at within the workflow beyond. You can't go back and add steps that have already been completed. Okay. So if you're getting it as the cost object approver, you can say add step, request who you want this to actually go to, and then click save. And now that person has been added to the workflow. And then you can go ahead and click close. If you see anything on this request that you are not in agreement with and you want some additional information on, you can send that back to the user by clicking more actions and saying send back to employee. Okay. You are required to enter a reason or a comment as to why you're sending that request back. So the more detailed you can be in your comment, the better, because the employee will see that as part of their notifications. You can, from here, for more actions, you can also approve and forward or edit the approval workflow, which is going to take you back to that request timeline to go ahead and add that step. If you see and like everything on this expense, you can go ahead and click approve. Jessica, I'm just going to throw in here real quick. You had asked about changing the allocation at the line item on request. I was able to get that resolved, so I'll go ahead and show that to you. So
Thank you.
You bet. So if you want to change an allocation at the expense level that doesn't match what you viewed on the header, for example, you want the conference registration to go to a different allocation than the airfare and the lodging, you can go ahead and select the checkbox and select allocate. And it gives you the option to go ahead and click add. It will default with what's on the header, so you can go ahead and just delete that. You'll notice that it's searched by code, and you can go ahead and change that to a different allocation, verify the rest is accurate, make updates as appropriate, and you can go ahead and click save. It will automatically default to 100% for that entire line item. So if you need it split in any way, you can go ahead and just click and add another line there, and it'll get that updated for you. But if you want the whole line to go to that different allocation, you can go ahead and click save. And it's on here, but it has disappeared. You might need to click refresh there, but you can go ahead and update your allocation as well. And you can go to allocation summary to see more of the details.
Thank you for that. We have a lot of things that are spread amongst many pots of money. So we appreciate every walkthrough on this part. Thank you so much.
You bet. My pleasure. Okay. Again, once you've reviewed everything, are in agreement, made any adjustments as appropriate, and you can go ahead and click approve. You will receive a confirmation pop-up that just says, hey, are you sure you want to do this? Go ahead and click yes. And now that request has left your standing queue for items to approve. Now, in the event that you want to see requests that you have approved in the past, you can go ahead and select the drop down here and say, I want to see everything I've approved this month. Okay. and you can look at all the items that you've since approved. Okay? And you can do this for various options here. Now I want to go ahead and approve some expense reports. Again, you can do that right from this tab by clicking within the expense report name itself. Your view, once you get into the expense report for approvals, is very different than what you're seeing in request. Okay, this is in process with Concur's research and development to be updated to have the same view as request, but that is still a work in progress with no estimated ETA at this time. So please know if at any point this screen looks different when you come into expenses, it's being updated. So it'll look and feel much more like the request side does. In the meantime, this is what you'll see on an expense report. It is a screen that a screen that you can adjust, so you can change column width, you can expand items. Anything that's got a blue header on it means you can sort by those fields. Okay, it will automatically land on the report summary. So if you want more information, again, you can do this two ways. The first is by clicking on details and then report header. And this will take you to the expense report header, most of which will have copied down from the request, or in this example, it's just P-card. So you can see that, yep, this is just a P-card report. This is the allocation that it's going to. It's correct or it's not correct, at least from a header perspective. And you can go ahead and click save. You can click more information about the line item expense itself by clicking into the line item and seeing more information like the business purpose, any additional information that the card holder or their delegate wanted to share. If there's any attendees, you can see this here as well. And you can just go from line to line to line. If you want to see information about the receipt, as Cynthia mentioned, make sure that supporting documentation is there and valid. Click on the receipt image tab, and that will bring up a copy of the receipt. So you can just toggle back and forth between the two. In the event that you would want to see them more in a side-by-side manner, you can go click on receipts up at the top and click view in new window. And that gives you the ability to see all receipts in a new window. Okay? And then you can, adjust your screens to see them more side by side. I will let you know that this little icon here means that that is a financial icon, meaning that is an indicator to you, the financial approver, that these lines pertain to your specific department. So in the case of P-card reports, you might have several line items on a single expense report allocated across several different departments. So it's going to go to all financial approvers for those departments. Okay. You will see 10 items on this expense report, but maybe only 2 of them are pertaining to your financial department. So those 2 lines are indicated by this icon. Everything else that doesn't have this icon, which is why I kind of move this out, because they can get hidden. So if you move that out, you can tell which line items actually pertain to you, and those are the items in which you are approving, okay, from a financial perspective. The other way you can view a report in its entirety is again through the print email option and going to that detailed report. This is much more dynamic than the one in expense. Okay. You can print this to a PDF. If you print this to a PDF, it does give you the option to include receipts with that. So you'll get a full receipt package. Otherwise, you'll have to do that view receipt window. You can email it, you can print it, etc. But it gives you all the information about this particular report, the name of it, who prepared it, who's it's for, what the expenses are, and the summaries of the types of expenses it was allocated to, the types of payments that it was that were used for it, and the overall allocation of the report. So you'll see each line item has its own allocation, but it does a summary across the entire report telling you the summary of the total amount to each allocation code if there's multiple. So this is a really good option to use if you want to view the report in its entirety versus having to click around in the different links. Okay. From expense, to add an approver, you can go to details, approval flow, and then from here you would click this plus button to say, I want to go ahead and add another person into the workflow. You can type for, search, and select their name, and then click Save Workflow. And now that individual is now added into the workflow. Okay. You can also approve or send back to the user from this workflow area, or you can send back to the user here or approve from here. Okay. I will show you again how you can allocate differently if you choose to say, hey, a particular allocation does not pertain to me, or I want it coded to a different funding source, right? The department's okay, but I want it to a different fund. You can go ahead and click on the allocate button within the expense itself, and you can come in here and make the edits to those particular areas. Once you've made any updates as appropriate, you can go ahead and click save, which you can't see right there, but click save. Once it saves, then you'd click the done button. Okay. I like what I see here, so I'm going to go ahead and click approve. You are agreeing to an approver statement, so please make sure that you read that and click accept. And a brief pop-up will show you that you have completely approved that report, and now you're brought back into your main reports approval queue. Again, you have the ability to select a view option for all the items that you have been approved through your queue, because once you click that approve, it purges off of your needs approval screen. Okay. So just real quickly, I'm going to flip over to a different screen and show you the delegate portion. So John, this will probably help clarify a little bit. So if you have an approver delegate, the delegate does not get sent the report. It does still go to the primary financial approver or primary supervisor approval. What you would then do is, if you get that email notification saying, hey, this person has a report to approve, you would go to profile, act on behalf of another user. You would go ahead and start typing in whoever that user would be, select their name, and say start session. You'll notice that you're acting as X approver. So you're acting on that primary approver's behalf, and you're seeing their approval queue, okay? Not your own, but theirs. And you can go ahead and click on approvals. Again, from any one of those buttons, several ways to get there. And then you can go ahead and go into their approval, their request, view, verify all the information that you like. You can see if there's attachments, you can view them, and go ahead and click approve. Again, you get that confirmation pop-up, and then you're done. Okay. One of the things I do want to show you about this is when you go back into that request, hopefully we can see it because it is in that budget check area. If you go to the request details and request timeline, excuse me. Actually, I think I'm going to go to the audit trail. I like that view better, so I'm going to promote that one with you. Okay, so you can see in the audit trail that the report was sent to approver 1, but was approved by, it was sent to approver 2. It was sent to, excuse me, I'm getting all my aliases messed up, so my apologies. It was sent to a cost object approver 1, but I, cost object approver 2, am acting as her delegate. So it actually shows that I made the approval, even though it's in cost object approver one's queue. Okay, so it'll still show who actually made that approval if somebody other than the original financial approver did it.